What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 10, Thursday Night Football.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon
so you don't miss our new videos.
Okay, in this video, I'm going to give you my top picks for the Thursday Night Football Showdown between the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, NFL Week 10. Let's take a look at this Thursday Night Football Showdown between the Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. So at the quarterback position, I like Marcus Mariota from the Atlanta Falcons playing the Carolina Panthers, who have the 8th worst defense overall. They're middle of the pack defending opposing quarterbacks. Marcus Mariota has averaged 16.2 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 6.7 rush attempts per game. He's going to be about 70% owned, projected at 17.3 fantasy points here tonight. He's 10,200 DraftKings salary, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 42.5 points scored in this game, with the Falcons favored by 2.5. Marcus Mariota has scored 8, 24, and 12 fantasy points in the last 3 games, and he got 5, 6, and 6 rush attempts in those games. So I like the rushing upside. So I like Marcus Mariota here versus the Carolina Panthers. Now the other reason I like Marcus Mariota is because PJ Walker from the Carolina Panthers, he's 9,600 DraftKings salary, only 600 less than Marcus Mariota, and he has not played well recently, only averaging 7.9 fantasy points per game on the season. He got benched last game, and they brought in Baker Mayfield, so I am concerned he could get benched again here tonight. Now, PJ Walker actually did have a pretty good game versus the Atlanta Falcons earlier in the season. That's why he's going to get the start here, and it's a good matchup. The Atlanta Falcons have the 2nd worst defense overall, and they give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. But I'm not sure if I can trust PJ Walker. This is a super high risk, high reward play. If he's not benched and he has a good game like he did earlier in the season, it could work out. But the only reason I don't like this play is because you're not getting much of a salary savings on this pick. If he was much cheaper, I would recommend it, but it's hard to play this guy. So I'm probably not going to play PJ Walker here versus the Atlanta Falcons. Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. So the stud on the slate is Cordell Patterson from the Atlanta Falcons playing the Carolina Panthers, who have the 8th worst defense overall. They give up the 2nd most fantasy points to opposing running backs. Cordell Patterson has averaged 16.8 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 14.2 rush attempts per game, 1.6 pass targets per game. He's been on the field for 83% of the snaps, going to be about 49% owned, projected at 12.7 fantasy points here tonight. I'm going to bump that up to 15 fantasy points. And Cordell Patterson, he's 11,800 DraftKings salary. So I'm going to admit here, that's awfully pricey. Now, Cordell Patterson has scored 18, 10, and 25 fantasy points in the last 3 games of a 13, 9, and 17 rush attempts. And he had a couple of pass targets in the past 3 weeks as well. Now, the Atlanta Falcons are a run-heavy offense, but the problem with this pick here is you have another running back, Tyler Algier, who's going to be in the mix splitting carries, and Tyler Algier is much cheaper So I do like Cordell Patterson. He's a stud. I mean, he could go off and score a couple touchdowns, and he could end up being the highest scoring fantasy player on the slate. No doubt about it, and it's a good matchup here, but I am a little bit concerned that they're sharing carries and only 13 rush attempts and 1 pass target last week, although he did just come back from injury, so it's possible he gets a bit more volume here tonight. So I do like Cordell Patterson here versus the Carolina Panthers.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
But if you're looking to save some salary at the running back position, I like Tyler Algier from the Atlanta Falcons. And Tyler Algier has scored 13, 18, and 11 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 10, 14, and 16 rush attempts. Also had 1 and 3 pass targets the past 2 games. Now, Tyler Algier was getting a little bit more volume with Cordell Patterson out, but last week he still got 10 rush attempts and 1 pass target, scored 13 fantasy points, only going to be about 19% owned. So if he does share the ball with Cordell Patterson, he could score a touchdown here tonight, and he's only $6,200 DraftKings salary. So, and it's a fantastic matchup. So I've got him projected at about 9 fantasy points here tonight. So I like Tyler Algier here versus the Carolina Panthers. Now for the Carolina Panthers, the running back you want to look at, you're going to have a couple options here. Donta Foreman from the Carolina Panthers playing the Atlanta Falcons, who have the second worst defense overall. They're middle of the pack defending opposing running backs. Donta Foreman, he's only averaged 6.9 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 6.7 rush attempts per game, but he's going to be about 38% owned. He's projected at 11.7 fantasy points here tonight. He's $7,800 DraftKings salary, and Donta Foreman has scored 4, 35, and 20 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 7, 26, and 15 rush attempts on top of 3, 1, and 2 pass targets. So his season averages are low because he was running behind Christian McCaffrey. Now without McCaffrey, he was the man for a couple of weeks, but Chuba Hubbard is coming back. It looks like he was a full participant in practice. So we don't know what the volume share is going to be between these 2 backs. So it looks like both of these teams, you're going to have 2 running backs competing for carries. Never ideal in daily fantasy, but that's why you want to take a look at the salaries here. That's why I think Cordell Patterson is a little overpriced, although he is by far the best talented running back, or the most talented running back on this slate with the most upside. He is very pricey, so one of these other guys could end up being the better play. Donta Foreman is $7,800 DraftKings salary, so I like Donta Foreman here versus the Atlanta Falcons. Now the other guy you want to take a look at is Chuba Hubbard. He is questionable, but he was a full participant in practice, so if he plays here tonight, if he's going to get some carries, he could be an interesting play. He's $5,800 DraftKings salary, and he's going to be about 36% owned. So it looks like the field is split on Donta Foreman and Chuba Hubbard. They don't know which guy is going to get the carries or which guy to play, so I think it's a coin flip between these 2 guys. So I like Chuba Hubbard if he plays here tonight versus the Atlanta Falcons. Okay, let's take a look at the wide receiver position. So I like DJ Moore from the Carolina Panthers playing the Atlanta Falcons, who have the second worst defense overall. They give up the second most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. DJ Moore has averaged 11.6 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 7.9 pass targets per game, and he gets an average of about 1 rush attempt per game as well. He's been on the field for 97% of the snaps, going to be about 57% owned, projected at 12.7 fantasy points here tonight. He's 9,200 DraftKings salary. DJ Moore has scored 4, 31, and 20 fantasy points in the last 3 games, off of 6, 11, and 10 pass targets. Then he had a couple of rush attempts mixed in there as well. So I'm taking a look at DJ Moore versus Cordell Patterson. You're going to save a lot of salary on DJ Moore, and I think DJ Moore might have more upside. Certainly going to get the opportunity with the pass attempts, so you don't have to worry about him sharing the ball, as a running back sharing carries. I think DJ Moore does have a higher ceiling here tonight at a lower price tag. So I like DJ Moore here versus the Atlanta Falcons. And I would probably consider DJ Moore for my captain as well.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. Our NBA tools are awesome. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
So the other wide receiver you can take a look at is Terrace Marshall from the Carolina Panthers. We know he's got a fantastic matchup here versus the Falcons, who are the second worst defense overall, give up the second most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Now, Terrace Marshall has scored 14, 13, and 5 fantasy points in the last 3 games, off of 6, 9, and 3 pass targets. He's going to be about 30% owned, projected at 8.9 fantasy points here tonight. Now, he is 8,400 DraftKings salary, so I think that's a bit expensive when you compare him to DJ Moore at only 9,200. It's making DJ Moore look way underpriced here. Terrace Marshall, he's got a great matchup, and he did get 6 and 9 pass targets the last 2 games. So he's got potential here tonight, but I just think he is a little bit overpriced compared to DJ Moore. Unless I'm going to play both of these guys in my lineup, I would absolutely pay up the 800 more for DJ Moore. But that's Terrace Marshall here versus the Atlanta Falcons. Okay, now for the Atlanta Falcons, take a look at Drake London. And the Carolina Panthers have the 8th worst defense overall, middle of the pack defending opposing wide receivers. Drake London has averaged 9.2 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 6.2 pass targets per game. He's been on the field for 78% of the snaps, going to be about 40% owned, projected at 9.9 fantasy points here tonight. Now, Drake London only scored 4, 7, and 2 fantasy points in the last 3 games, off a 7, 5, and 1 pass target, but he did get 7 pass targets last game, and he is cheaper than Terrace Marshall, so I would probably play DJ Moore and Drake London in my lineup, as if you're looking to play the top 2 wide receivers here tonight. So I like Drake London here versus the Carolina Panthers. Okay, let's take a look at the tight end position. So the stud on the slate at tight end, and he's absolutely going to be in my lineup. I like Kyle Pitts from the Atlanta Falcons. The Carolina Panthers, we know, have the 8th worst defense overall. They're middle of the pack defending opposing tight ends. Kyle Pitts has averaged 7.9 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 5.8 pass targets per game.
He's going to be about 41% owned, projected at 10.6 fantasy points here tonight. He's only 7,000 DraftKings salary, and Kyle Pitts has scored 5, 19, and 4 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 7, 9, and 5 pass targets. So I like Kyle Pitts here versus the Carolina Panthers. Now, if you're looking for a salary-saving option, you could call him a sleeper pick here. Take a look at Tommy Tremble from the Carolina Panthers. And the Atlanta Falcons, we know, have the second worst defense overall, and they give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. Now, Tommy Tremble only averaging 3.4 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 2 pass targets per game. But the last 3 games, he scored 8, 4, and 10 fantasy points off of 4, 4, and 1 pass target. So if he could get a handful of pass targets here tonight, he's going to be about 13% owned. Now, only projected at 4.6 fantasy points, but he scored, over 8 fantasy points 2 out of his last 3 games. And he's only 3,200 DraftKings salary. So that's going to give your lineup some salary relief, allow you to fit in the other players you want to put in your lineup. It's a great matchup here. And I like that he got 4 pass targets the last 2 games. So I like Tommy Tremble here versus the Atlanta Falcons.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NFL slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.